Massive Nuggets trade incoming. This is absolutely perfect for next season, but will we be losing a fan favorite along the way? Let's get into all that and more today on Nuggets Digest. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Stuart Hicar, Colorado native, basketball fan, and also just the most trusted man in all of amateur sports entertainment, and that's a fact. But also a fact is this statistic right here, which is pretty worrying. Did you know only about 10% of you are actually subscribed to this channel, which means almost 90% of you are missing out on some of the best gosh darn basketball analysis this side of the Continental Divide. So if you like what we do here at Nuggets Digest, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button to stay up to date with your favorite Mile High team. Alrighty, now that that is out of the way, what are we talking about today? Well, it's the offseason, it's the free agency area, and boy, the Nuggets have a lot to do. We got shown that our depth is not enough in this offseason, and teams like the Thunder and the Pacers were obviously built to go all the way with these deep rotations all the way down the bench, 9 to 10 guys you can really trust playing in the playoffs, and we just don't have that. So what do we need to be doing in free agency? We need to be picking up guys who can play great minutes, have some contributions in those off minutes when Jokić is off the floor, and really just shore up our bench more than anything. And boy, today are we talking about that. Let's go ahead and see what some of the stories we're talking about today are. Well, first we've got, we want more. More Whitmore. That's very clever. And then West goes east. Westbrook, is he on his way out? Scary to think about, but let's go ahead and get into all of this here today. We'll cover it all. Don't worry about that. First things first, this is the headline. Rockets swingman Cam Whitmore drawing trade interest, and that is true. Obviously, the Rockets have a lot of rearranging to do after they picked up Kevin Durant in that trade from the Suns. They only really got away or took Jalen Green off the payroll, so they do have to, I think they want to drop out of either the second or first apron of the CBA with their team budget. So obviously they're trying to move around a few stars, and Cam Whitmore is a guy who really hasn't gotten a lot of minutes with the Rockets. He's been there for 2 years, and while it seems like he's got a lot of room to shine, like he seems like a guy who's got a lot of room to grow, he is not getting the room to shine on the team. He's just not picking up a whole lot of minutes. He's not fitting into the rotations that Ime Udoka, the coach of the Rockets, has created. And when you aren't a part of the rotation, your trade value starts to slowly go down because people aren't seeing what you can do on a night-to-night basis. So Cam Whitmore is likely going to be traded from the team, but where is he going to end up? And there's a lot of interest with multiple teams because I think there's a lot of people who have interest in sort of a general young player, smaller contract, who seems to be on the rise, and over the next 3 to 4 years, maybe could become a real role player, a real star on some roster, some bench somewhere out there in the NBA. Someone needs him. And who needs him? Really, it's us. If they hadn't have picked up KD, I think Cam Whitmore probably would have found a way to fit into these rotations moving forward, and they would have found a way to keep developing him as a young player, because obviously the talent is there. It's just not the experience. But with KD on the roster, everything has to change. So let's take a look at his stats and a little bit about the article itself, talking about why he's moving, just to get a better sense of this whole situation. All right, so this is his stat line from last year. Again, remember, some of these numbers are a little lower than you might expect, but again, it mostly has to do with the fact that he is not getting a lot of minutes in rotation, which means these stats are all going to be a little lower than you might expect if he was getting closer to, 15 to 20 minutes a night, maybe something like that. You like to see his three-point shooting is pretty solid. His field goal percentage is pretty solid. Again, this is a young guy. This is his second year in the league, so we're not looking for a superstar, and we shouldn't expect that from him. I will say 9.5 a game and a couple of rebounds for a guy who's not getting minutes and is not in the regular rotation is pretty darn solid, especially on the size of contract he's actually going to be playing on as a young guy. So that is the number one reason, at least in my head, that so many teams would be interested, is that they could slot him in for at least 2 years without paying him all that much and hopefully get some real production off the bench. But what are people reporting the story talking about? And this is coming from Kelly Eco via The Athletic on her story about this situation. A handful of teams have inquired about the availability of sparingly used wing wing Cam Whitmore. Since being drafted with the number 20 pick in 2023, Whitmore has struggled to entrench himself in Udoka's tight rotation and at times has expressed his displeasure at the end of the bench. And that's true. There was a quote, I think, that came out probably 5-6 months ago now, where he was sort of, saying some bad things, not horrible things, but just saying he wasn't happy with the way the team was working and his usage on the team. And I think the coach came out and said, hey, you got to work harder. You got to show us that you deserve minutes if you want them. And that's that kind of iron, makes iron harder. That's the way it works. You got to play hard if you want us to show that you can take these minutes. So I don't think Cam Whitmore has a great relationship with the front office here. I think he would be okay leaving the Rockets. And it seems like the Rockets are okay getting him out of there as well, just judging by how many teams are sort of having that conversation about maybe picking him up in free agency. So that is at least one of our big stories here today. The big thing also to consider with this is that we're going to be losing someone, or potentially we will be losing someone, and that's Russell Westbrook. He turned down his player option this year, and some people thought that meant he would be signing a longer contract with the Nuggets, or some people thought maybe he's going to be shopping him around. Looks like it's the latter. Seems like there is some interest around the league. And remember, Jokić brought Russ in specifically last year because Jokić, I think, saw that Russell Westbrook's skill set was not being properly utilized on the teams he was with. Clippers, Lakers, his time there, they really wanted him to be something that he wasn't capable of being anymore. If he was ever that guy, this three-point knockdown shooter kind of guy, I don't think that's Russ's game. Obviously, coming to the Nuggets, his fast-paced, floor general, just playing with 110% at all times of the game. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's going to drive you crazy, but sometimes he's going to win you games. And for such a small contract with such great veterans mentality and basketball IQ, he's a great pickup for our team. And I would like to see him come back, but if he doesn't, does that give Cam Whitmore a little bit more space on the bench or other guys that we may be able to pick up in free agency? Obviously, right now, with the season just coming to an end, there are so many open questions. And the Knicks are possibly answering that question. Why are we talking about them? Well, there has been some chatter online that possibly the Knicks are reaching out to Russell Westbrook to come to the team. I think this sounds like a bad idea, personally. I think this sounds like a team a lot like the Lakers and Clippers, who were like looking for that one extra thing to push them over. And don't get me wrong, the Nuggets we're kind of doing the same thing right now. But I think the Knicks would probably be asking Russell Westbrook to do something that, again, is closer to those Lakers and Clippers days, as opposed to what he's doing now with the Nuggets, which is essentially like, hey, man, if you get us 5 points a game and keep your turnovers under 2, we're happy with you. And I don't think the Knicks would be... I think they'd be looking for a whole lot more than that. But that is the news on the wire right now, is that the Knicks may be a potential landing spot for Russell Westbrook. A lot of changes to the team. In the end, the one thing you need to remember is obviously Jokić is still unsigned at the moment. Well, technically, he can either extend his player option and go into the next 3 years with $212 million, or turn that down and try and get a 5-year deal with hopefully the Nuggets for even more money than that. Whichever way he goes, the Nuggets need to be serious about picking up talent to fill in the bench around this guy right here. And hopefully Cam Whitmore could be a piece of that. I like Cam Whitmore. I think he would slot in perfectly on the bench. He's a great age to work with a lot of our young guys. I think they're all right at that same level, have a lot of experience playing against each other in college. And that's the kind of chemistry I'd really like to see come to this team, especially with our new younger coach, new younger GMs, hopefully just a new younger vibe altogether. Cam, come to the Mile High City, baby. What do you have to lose? But again, that's just my opinion. What do you think? Do you agree with my very, very good takes? Or do you think I should be forced to watch what New Yorkers are going to have to say after Russ tries to shoot his first three-pointer? Either way, join the community down below. Leave a comment, leave a like, hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Stuart Hicar, and this has been another perfect video. Until next time, go Nugs.